Good evening and welcome to another class in the Manhood series. I'm Pastor Chandler Freeman. I'd like to welcome you to class 3. And the topic this evening is man's relationship with his wife. But before I get into our lesson today, I'd like to talk about a podcast announcement. There's been a change in our time. Starting next week and the weeks following, our time is going to be every Tuesday at 7 p.m. CST and 8 p.m. EST. We're forever grateful to all our followers and our listening audience far and wide. We apologize for our change in our time, and we hope that you continue to follow us to get our sound content. Thanks to everyone for your continuing support. This is Pastor Chandler Freeman on behalf of the Gospel Reach team. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I am a native of Liberia, a country in West Africa. I gave my life to Jesus Christ in 1986. I was ordained minister of the gospel in 1999. I'm a trained pastor and a teacher. My passion is teaching the true word of God. And so, through the truth of scriptures, individuals can be able to live a meaningful, purposeful, victorious, prosperous, and abundant Christian life. My hobbies are reading, writing, ranching, and grilling. My favorite team is the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a father, a businessman, a transformational leader, and a counselor. Today, we're talking about man's relationship with his wife. But let's start with why you shouldn't rush into marriage. Well, rushing into marriage is a desperate move. It's an emotional move. It's not waiting on the Lord. The timing of the Lord move. It is not a sober, clear-minded move. So getting married will not make a woman want you or love you. Getting married is not going to make a man love you. You might not even be emotionally ready to deal with everything. Marriage, you need to be ready emotionally, and emotional maturity is important. Now, if you rush into marriage, you will find out things about that person later because you didn't take the time. Beware of shocking discoveries because you were in a hurry. Now, so it's important to get to know that person. Now, marriage it is not a solution to insecurity. It's not a solution to low self-esteem. You're not going to low self-esteem go away because you got married to the gal or you got married to the boy. Marriage won't take away the insecurity and the low self-esteem. Now, what's the problem with rush marriages? The problem with rush marriages is that it ends in divorce and hurt and bitterness. Divorce is not a joke. It's very expensive, emotionally draining, and emotionally cutting. And so these are reasons why we shouldn't rush into marriage. But this is the thing. How can you detect the running to the altar syndrome? We're talking now in this class, the third class, man's relationship with his wife, running to the altar syndrome. Now, this is where a person always had this fantasy. They always had this wedding fantasy, the fantasy of the suit. For the woman, the fantasy of the dress, putting the rock on your fingers. These are all wedding days fantasy. And showing this big wedding and going for this breathtaking honeymoon. But it's important for us to understand that the wedding day fantasy, the marriage is more than the wedding day fantasy. The wedding is just the beginning, and the marriage, it takes a lifetime. Well, when the person is so obsessed and it's just about the wedding day fantasy, that is detecting the run to the altar syndrome. Well, there are individuals who are settled. Settling is where you say being with this person is more important than being alone. Marrying a person only because you cannot live alone. Well, how do you know a person is not ready? Well, flirting with others before marriage, flirting with others during marriage means you're not ready for marriage. You have to get to know yourself. If you want to get married only because you can't stand to be alone, can't stand to sleep alone, can't stand to eat alone, these are not reasons why you should get married. It's important for you to get to know yourself, know thyself. So important. Trust. If you do not trust the person, it means you're not ready for marriage. Finally, let's talk about the family piece. The family piece is an important piece when it comes to man's relationship with his wife. Well, you're not ready for marriage if the family meet hasn't happened. It's important for you to meet her family. It's important for her to meet your family, to meet her kids, meet your kids, and so see what the individual is like around the kids and their family, the influence the family has upon them. And so when that is hasn't happened, you're not ready for marriage. All right, let's talk about what makes an individual a good spouse, right? The individual maturity, the ability, the individual, the maturity, the mindset of that particular person, how the person thinks, how the person handles situations. That's what maturity is all about, publicly and privately. How about individual openness, the vulnerability around you? And honesty. Honesty is not just when they're around you. Honesty is when the individual is not around you. A person can be a totally different person around you and be a totally different person when they're not around you. But what honesty, how you know that person is a good spouse? Honesty. The consistency of that individual character. The person is the same when they're around you and when they're not around you. And so honesty, integrity, doing the right thing, affectionate, respect is important. Now, we don't grow up just respecting. It's a discipline. It's a culture. Something you have to practice. Something you have to work on. But you all have to respect each other for the relationship to be a good relation and for that individual to be a good spouse to you. Finally, when we talk about what makes a person a good spouse, how about a sense of humor? The ability for you to joke with each other, to laugh about things, not being all tense, serious all the time, but just the ability to have a sense of humor. That's very, very important. How do you know your relationship is healthy? The way you know it, intimacy. The intimacy is not just the goals you all work on together, but intimacy is when the focus is just on each other. That's time when you all take out time just for each other. Intimacy is an important factor. Communication is important. You all have to learn what time to communicate and to know how to communicate to that person. Also, making time for the relationship. How about fixing small things? Don't let things pile up. Fixing small things, because if you don't fix small things, they do become big things. Let me talk about M&M. I'm not talking about the chocolate now. I'm talking about marriage material, but M&M, because how sweet it is, how chocolate it is going to always help you to remember marriage material. The partner has to be a partner that self-reflect. That person knows how to withdraw. That person has a quiet life, a private life. The person is not just out there all the time. The person joins, the person is reflective. Well, we're talking about marriage material. But what good is reflection without regulation? What good is reflection without correction? What good is reflection without discipline and putting it into practice? And so when you reflect, it's important to move from reflection to regulation to correction and making the adjustment. And so that's very, very important. How about communicating clearly? Marriage material, the ability to communicate clearly. That's very important. Supportive is so key when it comes to marriage material. You all have to support each other. And support can be one way. You can just support her without her supporting you. She can support you without you supporting her. And so support, you're talking about mutual support, right? Supportive, I'm talking about, and this is the buzzword on the marriage material. Be supportive, but not competitive. There is no way if you're competitive that it's going to last. It's not going to. But supportive, you all have to support each other. We're talking about having a value system overlap, shared values. So self-reflection, regulation, communication, supportive, finally having godly values and good values. Suitable partner. Why did I start with this concept? Because it's a biblical concept. But for the man, there was not a suitable partner. But suitable is the biblical nomenclature. It's important for us to understand that. God said this is good and this is good. But God said it's not good for the man to be alone. And so God created the woman to be his suitable partner. The animal is not the suitable partner for the man. The man is not the suitable partner for a man. A woman is not a suitable partner for a woman, but a man and a woman. When we talk about a suitable partner, we talk about a partner that respects you, your best friend. Also shows unwavering commitment, communicates clearly. Now, I talk about suitable partner. Now I'm talking about compatible partner. And the reason why I didn't start with compatible because a man can be compatible, a woman can be compatible, but that's not the biblical term for suitable. God said the woman is suitable for the man and the man is suitable for the woman. Now, compatible, now after you suitable God's way, it's important for you all to be compatible. Radical honesty, mutual support, accepts you, sense of humor. These are so important qualities. Now, how about pay for sex? Should you? Should you pay your wife to have sex with her? No, you shouldn't. Because now she's no longer a wife. She's an object. She's a thing to be used, a prostitute. And so a husband should not pay for sex. Husband shouldn't bribe his wife, say, have sex with me, I will buy you a car, I'll buy you jewelry, I will take you out. And a wife shouldn't give sex for favors. Sex should be a thing that a wife give. Sex should be a thing that a husband give because they're in love with each other and they want to share that intimacy. But it shouldn't be paid for sex. Not there is no pay to play. Let me talk about unhealthy couple. First Kings chapter 21. Is it the pericope that has to do with King Ahab and Jezebel? You're talking about a unhealthy couple in the Bible. Ahab saw the vineyard. He wanted it. He went to the owner. The owner said to him, Ahab, my vineyard is not for sale. Ahab couldn't accept no. And that's the problem. You have to be able to accept no. The guy wasn't selling his vineyard. Well, Ahab goes home, he's pouting. But Ahab, this vineyard, you're king in Israel. You can have another vineyard. But Ahab is not content. And greed runs amok. So Ahab tells his wife Jezebel, she says she will handle the situation. This led to the guilt, killing of an innocent man just because of his vineyard. Jezebel got the sons of Belial to lie on that man, to accuse the man. And so this is what an unhealthy relationship looks like. The man being a better man, not making the decision he ought to make. And Jezebel being an enabler. Let me talk about role playing. This is the question. Should a wife be a lady in the street and a freak in the bed? That's the question. Well, I think a wife should be diplomatic publicly. And there's some things that you see, you need to have a private life and you need to have a public life. Diplomatic, diplomatic in public, romantic privately. That's very, very important. Now, this is the question. Should a wife support a husband financially? Yes, there are exceptions. An exception, you a job lost, the man was working, he lost his job. How about illness, sudden illness? There's nothing wrong with the wife supporting in these cases. But it's important for us to understand in this class, it is the man's responsibility to support, to protect his wife, protect his family. Let me talk about the 50-50 marriage. Should marriage relationship be 50-50 financially or 100-100 financially? Well, a wife who is a professional is going to work. An educated woman, she's going to work. Well, they shouldn't be splitting finances. They're not roommates. Our partner shouldn't use her or his money only on himself. So the partner shouldn't say, my money is mine, and yours, my money is mine, and yours is ours. That shouldn't be happening in the marriage. Let's talk about how to avoid the ruin. Well, don't live with in-laws or establish boundaries when it comes to friends, it comes to in-laws. Control your buddies, have a control on the other sisters, her friends, your friends, in-laws. Establish boundaries, enforce boundaries, stick to boundaries. Don't allow your mother-in-law or father-in-law to sabotage your marriage. Also, you all have to spend time with each other. You all can be spending time with kids or spending time with other goals you all have. Spending time with each other is so important. How about handling conflicts? Conflicts are inevitable, but we have to learn to manage it. So you have to work on how am I going to express myself, even though I'm angry, or maybe I need to wait. Let me take a break. When I calm down, I might be in a better position to communicate constructively. You see the picture in the PowerPoint where they're going at each other. That's not a way to express yourself constructively. Acknowledge each other's feelings, make decisions together. Don't make a decision and then you come and tell the other person. Keep each other in the loop. Okay? Keep a positive attitude. Be peaceful. Be peace loving. Don't let things pile up without addressing them. It's very, very important. Let's talk about sex in the marriage. Sex is not dirty. Sex is not filthy. God created sex. It's a good thing. It's a godly thing. Sex in marriage, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 2, 5. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 8 and 9. God is the one that created sex, sexual intercourse. It should be spicy, pleasurable, enjoyable, sensual, playful, exciting. What's the purpose of sex in Genesis chapter 2? It consummated the marriage, right? So that's what the honeymoon is all about, the consummation of the marriage. But then, purpose of sex, procreation, having children. But then, there are cases where individual won't have children, but they'll be married. You have companionship. So you have companionship, you have procreation, consummation, and then how about love and pleasure? These are things that God created. And so sex expresses love and pleasure in the relationship. How about friendship in marriage? Well, couples, married couples ought to be friends, not enemies. This means developing a culture where you all are open to one another. You're not worried when you have to communicate with that person, and a no judgment zone, no judgment environment where you're not feeling insecure. And it's important for couples to not do things to each other to make that other person feel insecure. How about not talking about the ex all the time? Not but so because there are things that you can do to make that other person feel insecure. So make sure that you work on things where the other person is not feeling insecure. Do your best to not make the man feel insecure. Do your best to not make that woman feel insecure. Right? Your education ought not to be used as a weapon. Don't use your degrees against her. She shouldn't use her education against you. Education just means you all have better skills to make an honest living and to live in a peaceful way. Spend time together, play together, meet each other's emotional needs, not being one sided, but meeting his need and meeting her needs, right? So important. Staying present in the marriage. A person can be in a marriage and they've checked out emotionally. So they're just going through the motions. They're not present. Explore each other's interest. Continue to understand your partner's love languages. How do you contact me? Well, you can email me, G_Chandler at hotmail.com. My mailing address, Gospel Reach Ministries International, P.O Box 906, Hurst, Texas 76053. Thank you so much for watching. I see you next week. Remember, there's a change in our time. And so next week, the time is going to be, and the weeks following, 7 p.m. CST, 8 p.m. EST. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you have feedback, please let us know via social channels or via email, ge_Chandler at hotmail.com. Thank you for attending class.